Well, hey, how about that? This is actually pretty good. I mean, hell if I know why Paramount stopped trying to market this especially hard or do much push for what they at least started as the build-up for trying to get the G.I. Joe brand going again somehow. Maybe they already decided not to keep up the rest of whatever was going to be the franchise and don't need anyone asking about their contracts now, but I can't see why they'd look at this out of anything else they produced recently and decide this didn't have at least a decent chance of being an earner on their hands. I mean, yeah, most of the same criticisms I've heard coming from people on the West Coast who saw Snake Eyes early were also very much present at my screening, particularly on the weak action side, which definitely is a problem since there's a lot of action here. The fight scenes are choppy and over-edited, though you can tell it was a stylistic choice and not just incompetence. They're clearly trying to keep the actors' faces center frame as much as possible because there are a lot of people to keep track of here. It's just not really a choice that works, but they're far from a deal breaker. Granted, it would be the case if all there was to offer here were the action beats and the whole thing would really be a chore to sit through, but to a shocking degree, Snake Eyes turns out to be the rare B-tier franchise blockbuster that wants to make the outlandishness of its scenario, the characters and the weird, twisty ninjas versus gangsters versus terrorists versus spies, but also with magic and monsters for some reason storyline, the real spectacle as opposed to how much of it they can blow up, though they also blow up a bunch of it still. There's a throwback charm to be had in the idea of an action movie that's at least quasi-grounded enough where, oh wow, we're in Japan now, is treated as a really huge exotic location reveal. The fact of it is, for what the material demands, they really put a solid script to this as far as action figure ninja movies go. I mean, purists of the G.I. Joe brand, which I'm sure exists, will balk at the retooled backstory and mythology for the main character, which has basically been rebuilt and expanded out to the point where it's effectively a new character, preserving the look, abilities, and main rivalry, but in terms of setup and execution of the franchise movie machinery, it's good at balancing the dozen character world building, here's a costume, and a handful of lines go be iconic needs of any B-tier Marvel movie. There's honestly quite a bit of stuff in there, but unlike a lot of the other attempts you see, the late Act 2 switch flip where the G.I. Joe, Cobra, bigger picture stuff slips into frame, I actually did have a momentary, oh yeah, right, this is also about those guys. Huh, I was caught up in the ninja stuff, honestly, so, you know, hey, good job there, I guess. For those of you for whom that was mostly ones and zeros,
what's so hard to get? You just need to have grown up in the 80s, but still be a teenager.
Snake Eyes is a ninja. He wears black and is a good guy. His rival is called Storm Shadow. He wears white and is a bad guy. They were friends and are now the opposite because of ninja things. Snake Eyes is also part of G.I. Joe, which is the U.S. Army, only not. Storm Shadow is part of Cobra, which is whoever we're presently in geopolitical conflict with in a given time frame, but also not. Anyway, in this new version, Henry Golding has the title role as Snake Eyes, reimagined into a ninja movie subgenre favorite protagonist cliche, the honorably tormented, homeless pit fighter, in this case a drifter traveling the criminal underworld since childhood searching for the mystery assassins who killed his father. This leads him to clumsily insert himself into a blood feud between Yakuza arms smugglers and a ninja clan who's next in line to lead. Andrew Koji from Warrior, as the future Storm Shadow, has adopted him as a blood brother and offers him a chance to join the clan and his family officially. Complicating matters further, it soon becomes clear that the players in this situation are being themselves manipulated by larger outside forces of government espionage and international terrorism. Like I said, there's quite a bit going on here, and it holds together better than you'd think, especially considering the second half really does take its time coming into focus, while most of the movie is a more conventional 80s throwback ninja thing, about Snake Eyes having to pass a series of combat mind game challenges to prove himself worthy of joining the clan by overcoming his inner demons and flaws, which of course in terms of theme are that he's obsessed with revenge, but in terms of actual plot are that he's really kind of a dumbass, which is sort of in a very unexpected way maybe one of the most refreshing things about what's otherwise designed to be semi-disposable B-movie. Whether this takes off or not, it's clear from the first scene that Golding is a natural-born action hero and movie star. He radiates charisma, sells a scene with limited dialogue and expression, understands exactly the sort of movie he's in, and appears fully committed to the bit. And what's intriguing is that the reimagined version of Snake Eyes here feels very much like it might have been written as a blank slate to be filled by a Hollywood brand standard action star, and not altered in any specific way, on the not unremarkable basis of casting a Malaysian actor as an Asian American guy doing typical dopey American bro, clearly out of his depth and winging it. In an exotic foreign honor culture shtick, you more typically see movies like this build around, say, a Zac Efron or Ashton Kutcher type. I mean, like, it shouldn't be a thing worth noticing in 2021 for a Western movie to acknowledge, without acknowledging that they're acknowledging it, that Asian culture exists across a broad global spectrum, but like it is, and also it's unexpected within the context of other genre tropes Snake Eyes delights wallowing in, that by the time you realize, no, really, the invincible, naturally gifted superhuman ninja is also otherwise a charming himbo who's going to drive 70% of this storyline by making really stupid, short-sighted, selfish decisions, which he assumes are very clever strategy on his part, and is then going to have to rush around trying to fix for the finale, is actually what it's up to, comes exactly as much of a nice break from formula as needed at exactly the right time. Plus, Golding is good enough to sell the idea that this guy really has gotten exactly this far in life on just being a people person. He gets some help from that via Koji's heavy lifting of the serious stuff as Storm Shadow, who here, with the military backstory stripped out, kinda has to get across the relationship and his fixation on Snake Eyes, mostly in terms of, I don't know, I just think he's neat, you guys. Well, Haruka Abe aces her action beats and otherwise does what she can with the new for the movie part of Akiko, best described as the other Storm Shadow who has all the identical character traits, attributes, and relationship alignments as Storm Shadow, but is a lady, and thus certain character threads can follow through to what otherwise would be really obvious conclusions vis-a-vis Snake Eyes without half the audience getting really angry about it. Iko Uwai and Peter Mensah are on hand to add action and Actily Gravitas respectively as Hardmaster and Blindmaster, guess what their gimmicks are, while the broad universe slips in for Act 3 with Samara Weaving's Scarlet and Ursula Cabrero's Baroness repping G.I. Joe and Cobra respectively, though it's someone else from the busy supporting cast and the afterthought chase for a very Infinity Stone and or Mother Box type MacGuffin that ultimately steps in for the perfunctory bad guy role once the story has painted itself into the inevitable corner where none of the interesting threads can resolve in a way that wouldn't let them pick things back up when they make the hypothetical full-blown G.I. Joe reboot, so here's hoping. I mean, it makes for a nice showy finale and things do kick back up again. They know what their ending needs to be. It's just one of those trade-offs in this kind of storytelling. Still, this really is about as good as these things reasonably get before they flip over into being just actual good with no caveats, and that's been a surprisingly big ask for this strangely tough nut of a franchise to crack. So yeah, let's call this a 7 out of 10 for Snake Eyes. I hope they keep up the trajectory. Yo, Joe.